LWO1 WeatherNet. Liftoff conditions looking pretty good.
ESTS is ready for launch.
Ignition. Liftoff.
Falcon 9 has cleared the tower.
Ten, 9, 8,
Side booster ignition.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
T-minus 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Stop. Go Falcon, go Dragon. Godspeed, Axiom 1.
Copy 1 Alpha.
Together, a new chapter begins. Godspeed, Ax-1.
Stage 1 propulsion is nominal.
T plus 38 seconds into this historic mission, flying crew on board Dragon and Falcon 9.
Power range telemetry nominal. Stage 1 throttle down.
Throttling down in the preparation for max dynamic pressure.
Falcon 9 is supersonic. XQ. Stage 1 throttle up.
Merlin 1D engines coming back up to power.
1 Bravo. Copy, 1 Bravo.
The crew calling out 1 Bravo should a escape situation arise. It tells the Dragon flight computer what profile to fly using the Super Draco engines. But everything is looking good on Falcon 9. We're getting nominal callouts from all the engineers and a great view from the ground camera and the onboard cameras.
Invac chill underway.
Beginning to chill in the second stage turbo pump in preparation for its ignition, coming up in just over half a minute from now. Coming up on about 3.5 G's acceleration for the crew. We'll begin throttling down the Merlin engines to hold that level of acceleration. Next event coming up, we're going to get main engine cutoff of the main engines. Get stage separation and ignition of the second stage engine. You've heard the throttle down call out. We're holding 3.5 G's for the crew.
And Miko. Stage separation stage. Copy 2 Alpha. Invac ignition.
Successful stage separation and ignition of the second stage engine. On the left, the titanium grid fins beginning to slowly deploy. Great views from the first stage camera. The first stage now begins a slow flip maneuver. You can see the white nitrogen gas plumes as we reorient for an entry back through the Earth's atmosphere a little bit later in the plus count. Second stage, we see the engine nozzle glowing red. Everything continuing to look good on the second stage. We should be hearing call-outs coming up to the crew here shortly on how the trajectory is looking.
Dragon SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
It's what we like to hear.
Acquisition of signal, Bermuda.
AOS Bermuda, acquisition of signal. The Bermuda tracking station now getting telemetry from the second stage of the Falcon 9 with the Dragon on top. T plus 4 minutes, 10 seconds. Everything continues to be nominal. First stage coasting to apogee, and then it'll come back down for landing on the drone ship. Second stage partway through its lengthy burn to get the crew into orbit. So Kate, 4.5 minutes in, everything continues to look good.
What a absolutely picture-perfect liftoff. All right, good call out there. That trajectory is nominal. As John mentioned, we got to about 3.5 Gs there.
Acquisition of signal, New Hampshire.
On the left-hand side of your screen, we can see the first stage as it is making its way back down to Earth. It's targeting a landing on our drone ship, a shortfall of Gravitas, which is parked a couple hundred miles off the coast of Florida out in the Atlantic Ocean. Second stage on the right-hand side, everything continues to be nominal there as the MVAC engine is powering the second stage and Dragon Endeavor to its targeted drop-off orbit. Absolutely beautiful views of both the first and second stages.
SpaceX, trajectory nominal.
All right, so coming up in about 1.5 minutes, the first stage will execute the first of 2 burns required for today's landing attempt. At about T plus 7 minutes and 30 seconds, we'll see the entry burn begin. That's where the first stage will ignite the center engine first, and then a couple seconds later, ignite 2 more engines, so a total of 3 engine burn, which will last about 29 seconds. The entry burn slows the vehicle down significantly as it re-enters back into the Earth's atmosphere. The first stage sees high drag, which scrubs roughly 70% of that velocity by the time that the landing burn begins. Either at
Stage 1 entry burn startup.
Stage 2 flight
All right,
termination.
there we can see that that entry burn has begun. We are targeting a landing on our drone ship, a shortfall of Gravitas today. Everything continuing to look nominal with trajectory and MVAC performance there for our second stage on the right-hand side. So we are conducting the entry burn. Previously, the booster was...
Stage 1 entry burn shut down.
That entry burn helps slow the booster down. It was going about 25 times the speed of sound. So we slow it down as it re-enters the dense part of the Earth's atmosphere. The next event is second engine cutoff, or SECO-1, as you see it there on the timeline at the bottom of your screen.
Stage 2 internal guidance.
That's where we shut down the MVAC engine, or second engine cutoff.
Copy, Shannon. Stage 1 transonic.
Note that our landing burn and second engine cutoff will occur about the same
MVAC
time.
shut down.
All right, we got a live view of the crew inside Dragon Endeavor there on the right-hand side of your screen.
Stage 1 landing burn.
Landing burn has begun for the first stage.
Dragon SpaceX, nominal orbit insertion.
All right, great news there. Dragon Endeavor, nominal orbit insertion.
SpaceX Endeavor, Stage 1 landing leg deployed. SpaceX Dragon launch skip system disarmed.
As you can see, this Falcon 9 has landed for the 5th time. All the while, great commentary
Stage 1
there.
landing confirmed.
while we can confirm the landing.
Signal Newfoundland and loss of signal as expected, Cape.
Confirmed landing there of the first stage booster. Also, almost simultaneously, great news for the second stage. We heard that there was nominal orbit insertion for Crew Dragon Endeavour. There you can see a live view inside our Dragon. Looks like the crew is beginning to adjust to zero G. And if you look at the right-hand side corner, it looks like we can see the zero G indicator.
That was one of my. That was one of the things I really wanted to see what they were going to bring for their zero G indicator. So I can't wait to see what comes on.
It looks, I can't quite tell, Pokemon. Maybe. Okay. Well, hopefully it'll come into closer view.
Yeah.
But
And if not, we'll get to ask them later. Hopefully.
yeah, great to see the crew here again, starting to really getting their first taste of microgravity.
Yeah.
Oh, it has ears. Oh, it's a bunny.
It
Is
looks
that
like a bunny.
Thumper?
I think it might be.
I think that's Thumper from Bambi. Love it. So right now, the second stage is basically preparing for Dragon separation. We are the next step now that, as we said, Dragon has nominal orbital insertion. The second stage and Dragon will separate. The view that you're currently looking at is inside the Dragon trunk, which, as you can see, has just separated from the second stage.
Dragon status, Dragon separation confirmed.
On behalf of the Falcon 9 team,
Thanks, Ann.
welcome
That's
to
good to be
space.
here.
Thanks for flying Falcon 9. You guys enjoy your trip to that wonderful space station in the sky. Do some great research for us. We'll look to see you back here underground. Now stand by for some words from LD.
And MLA and the rest of the crew Endeavour, glad we got to have some fun this morning. We'll probably be calling an early weekend over here at the Cape. Pass you over to Anna and the team. You'll be in good hands. Godspeed, Endeavour. Enjoy the rest of your flight. Cheers.
Hey, Mark, it was a lot of fun. I venture to guess we had a little bit more than you did. We thank you and your launch team, Girth, you and the Falcon 9 team. It was a hell of a ride, and we're looking forward to the next 10 days.
All right, some nice words there from a couple of key folks. Our first Quindar tone of the mission.
Yeah. I queued up right when I heard that.
There we
And
can
expected loss of signal, Bermuda and New Hampshire.
There we can see Dragon Endeavour on its way to the International Space Station. It has separated. There's a view
Dragon
inside.
SpaceX, we had nominal dehumidifier activation and service section Draco checkouts.
There we can see over the shoulder of
SpaceX Endeavour, we copy, Arthur.
over the shoulder. Previously, Commander MLA was on the left, and pilot Larry Connor was on the right. Live view inside the cabin. They just got the okay to lift their visors.
All right.
All right. So we can see that everyone is in space.
Yeah.
We can see that zero-G indicator floating around. Great view there of Dragon Endeavour. Now in space with the Axiom 1 crew on their way to the International Space Station.
Yeah, I mean, this is a day of firsts. You know, this is my first time getting to participate in a launch like this. This is the first for Axiom. I mean, this is a first for spaceflight. And it's just wonderful to see such a picture of perfect launch.
It really was.
We saw the landing and we saw orbital or zero-G insertion at the same time. I mean, that was perfect.
Yeah.
It was wonderful to see. All right, well, as I just said, today's launch is one for the history books. So to punctuate this milestone that NASA and commercial companies are able to achieve together, we go now to Kennedy Space Center, where Megan Cruz is with NASA's Kathy Leaders.
I am. I'm here right now with the Associate Administrator of NASA's Space Operations Mission Director. It's so great to have you here, Kathy. What did you think of the launch?
Oh my gosh, it's always like, you know, right in the bottom of my throat. I'm holding, can't breathe.
Yes.
But what a beautiful, beautiful sight.
Yeah.
So good to see it. I want to tell everybody working Artemis 1 wet dress, we're off the range. We're off the range for Axiom 1 and we can get moving. But you always want to hear the engine cut off. You always want to hear that second stage engine's lighting. You always want to hear, you know, each of these stages, and we need to just keep carefully working through the different steps to get that crew there to the International Space Station safely.
Yeah. What does Axiom 1 represent? Axiom 1 and also future private astronaut missions to the International Space Station.
Hey, you know, NASA's original goal was to enable commercial industry. That was actually in our original Space Act agreement. And so here we are, you know, 60 years later, enabling that through our missions. And so I just feel like this is a culmination of 60 years of work for us. And here we are once again getting to see, and for the first time getting to have commercial, you know, private astronauts going to the International Space Station, and they'll get to see what our government, what they're calling professional astronauts doing their real work, but then also getting to do their work too. And it's another place where learning to peacefully work in space, I think, is moving us forward.
Yeah, so important. And you know, we just watched Axiom 1 lift off from that launch pad right there behind us. In a couple of weeks, we're going to see Crew 4 launch from that same launch pad. And then just right next to it, Pad 39B, we have NASA's brand new Space Launch System. Can you recall a busier time we've had here at the Space Coast? And how is Kennedy Space Center managing its new role as this multi-user spaceport?
So I think somebody else, Bob Cabana had this dream of a multi-user spaceport here. So I think he should be very, very proud of his KSE team, and Janet Petro and her team are obviously leading the way right now, because this is not easy to do. It's not easy to go make sure all these people have all the capabilities, and are obviously working with our Air Force sister agency there too, and making sure that all these launches get supported in a seamless way. Just an amazing job.
Yeah, a lot of juggling that has to happen.
Yep.
So, you know, I just talked about SLS. We are looking forward to the moon with that launch later this year. You know, why is it still so important to maintain a presence in low Earth orbit when we're looking towards the moon now?
Because we still don't have everything figured out how to do things yet for the moon and Mars. And really the cheapest place for us to see a differential gravity environment and for the long term is still LEO.
Yeah.
And so we've got to continue to do these long duration flights, keep doing our medical protocols, keep doing our physical protocols, keep testing out our equipment through those long duration missions. It's the only place where we can do that right now.
Yeah.
And so we still need to be able to have this kind of a test bed for us to be checking out and proving our protocols, our research, our technology before you go put somebody in a rocket that's going to go to Mars, right? So just like always, we prepare, we get ourselves ready, and a low Earth orbit destination is a perfect place to do that.
And again, how does us fostering commercialization efforts in space, how does that free us up to pursue these other dreams that we have as an agency?
So, you know, the administrator today in the pre-mission conference, he said, you know, we right now are doing, this is our first step. We're working with a commercial company to have them come to our International Space Station. And we're learning to work together and figuring out how to work together. And this is going to be an important step for us, because moving forward, we would actually like to now be able to buy a ride and time on orbit with a commercial company to be able to have them do that. And so this is the first step of their learning from us and us learning from them. And then in the future, you know, we're going to have space station for another 8 years, but we would like by the early 2030s for us to be flipping the roles and have our professional astronauts going up and checking and doing and focusing on the research and technology we need for exploration, but allowing commercial providers to be doing the hard work of maintaining the laboratory.
Kathy, what an exciting future. I'm looking forward to seeing it, and thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
All right, back to you, Dan.
All right. Hey, thanks, Megan. It is great to see the Ax-1 mission on orbit. The team here with the space station are ready. We're ready to get them on board. So their journey just started. They've got about 20 and a half hours until they're docked to the space station. Again, they're headed for the Zenith port on Node 2. That's the space-facing one on the very top. With that docking scheduled right now for 11:45 GMT on Saturday. That is just about 6:45 a.m. here in Houston, 4:45 a.m. for the teams out on the West Coast. Once they get there, we'll be able to get into all of the hatch open operations, welcome them on board. We expect the hatches to open up about 2 hours after that docking, maybe a little bit less, and then that welcome ceremony coming not too long after. So that'll do it for us for today, at least here from Houston. We're going to be joined again tomorrow by the SpaceX and the Axiom team as we walk you through the final stages of the rendezvous, and that coverage is going to be starting at 4:30 a.m. Central, 2:30 a.m., so an early morning, my friends over there on the West Coast. So with that, again, congratulations to the SpaceX and Axiom teams for getting this crew on orbit. We'll be ready for them tomorrow to get them on board the space station. I'll send it back now to the team at Hawthorne and over to Kate.
Thanks so much, Dan. Actually, just heard in our ears just now, successful nose cone opening. All right, so that was basically the last physical step for this morning. So that we're going to start wrapping it up. Now, over the next 20 hours, Dragon will execute a series of burns to gradually raise and line up the Ax-1 crew for docking with the International Space Station in what we refer to as the activation and rendezvous phase of the mission. Now, in just a few minutes, the crew will doff or take off their spacesuits to get a little more comfy for their flight and will enjoy their first meal aboard the spacecraft. At 2 p.m. Pacific, they will get ready for a rest period that will last for about 10 hours, 8 hours for actual sleeping, and a couple of hours for pre/post-sleep activities. Before they arrive at the space station, we will have 2 potential opportunities to chat briefly with the crew on orbit, one later this morning around 11:10 a.m. Pacific, and one early tomorrow around 12:10 a.m. Pacific. While we're hopeful one of these will work out, neither opportunity is guaranteed as they're dependent on crew schedule and ground station coverage. Now, if we're able to support, we'll make an announcement on our social media channels no later than 15 minutes before the event start time. In the meantime, be sure to keep tabs on the mission at axiomspace.com, and you can track Dragon's flight on spacex.com/launches.
Right, and as Kate mentioned, even if we aren't able to talk live with the crew, we will continue to provide updates on the mission across our social media channels. And starting at 5:30 Eastern, 2:30 a.m. Pacific on Saturday, April 9th, we will pick back up with our live joint coverage of the Ax-1 crew's approach and docking to station with NASA. So please keep an eye on Axiom and SpaceX social channels for updates, and regardless, we hope to see you back here at 5:30 a.m. Eastern Time for live coverage of the first all-private astronaut mission to the space station. So from all of us at Axiom Space, thank you to SpaceX, and thank you to NASA. This is just the beginning in the next chapter. And thank you at home for tuning in. We hope to see you soon.